In this episode of Flea Market Rescue, we're going to take these ugly looking vases and we're going to turn them into gorgeous looking vases. Then we'll take an old flower bench and make it absolutely stunning. And lastly, we'll take these old books I got for $1 at the thrift store and turn them into beautiful home decor. So you ready? Let's do this. If you remember our Goodwill video, we found this vase for $1.99 there. How much is that?
That is $1.99.
Oh, we gotta get that. Then I came across a few unsightly vases, like this red one that was broken off the pedestal, and this large sandy peach one in the back. We're gonna do 3 different techniques on these little eyesores and make them into gorgeous upscale vases. First, we're going to start by gluing back together the red one, and we're going to use epoxy for that. This epoxy, you're going to go ahead and squirt out equal parts using that lever, and then you're going to mix that really well. You have a few minutes to work with it, but this glue makes such a great bond. It's really a great glue. I mixed the glue with a toothpick, and that's what we're going to use to apply around the edges, and then we're going to press that piece down onto the base. I'm just trying to see what side fits the best, and then I'm just going to probably add a little more glue since we spun it around a few times. I think that looks good, and we're going to let that dry. Let's go ahead and work on this peachy sand one. We're going to take Annie Sloan graphite paint, and we're just going to paint the whole thing in graphite. Now we're going to take that little $1.99 one and do the same thing. We're going to paint it all in graphite. I think it's looking better already. I don't know what was up with those spots, but they just really missed the mark on that. All right, the red vase has had time to dry, so you know what? We're just going to paint that in graphite too. And we'll let that dry. Okay, so they're all dry, and we're going to go ahead and take this white paint and we're going to work on the one with the base. We're going to make it look as if it's chipped up, and it's just going to have a great look to it. Very vintage. We're going to start by applying it where you're not going to cover it completely because you want some of that black to shine through. So I'm just kind of dabbing at it and just putting the paint in certain areas. I love this vase. I guess you could call it an urn too. It just has like this awesome look to it. It's very heavy. It's cast iron. It's just a solid piece, but that red did nothing for it. I'm really loving how this is looking, and we're just going to let that dry now. Now while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and use this French linen, and we're going to paint our taller sandy peach vase. Now you don't want to paint every inch of this. You want to leave some of that black shining through because that's what shows your detail. Okay, I think that looks good. We're just going to go ahead and let that dry. Okay, so now that it's dry, we're going to go ahead and do a little wash with this Paris gray. I'm going to dip my brush into the Paris Gray, and then I'm going to dip it into the water, and then we're going to go over the vase. We're just going to streak it on there, and we're going to highlight certain areas with the Paris Gray. This gives it a nice layered effect. I think this came out gorgeous and looks very expensive. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up that little $1.99 spotted vase. We're going to take a little of this Hun Fleur. It's by Annie Sloan, and it's like a brownish type paint, and we're going to mix that with the graphite. That brown just kind of warms up that graphite, and just it makes it look very rich looking. And we'll let that dry. Back in the day when I made primitive dolls, we used this cinnamon to make them look super old. And we're going to do that with this vase because we want to give it a little character. So I'm just going to sprinkle on some of the cinnamon, and it's just going to highlight some of the details in the vase. Bear with me, it's going to look awesome. I know it looks strange what we're doing, but it just gives a really awesome effect, and I think you're really going to like it when it's done. Now we're going to take a little of our graphite paint, and we're just going to dab over some of those high spots and make that detail just pop right out. Now, as you can see, it's starting to look like old cast iron. And you know what we started with. It definitely was not cast iron. If you're noticing that it's just a little too heavy with the cinnamon, just keep on dabbing it with that brush and a little of that graphite paint. Okay, now that we have these looking very expensive, we want to stage them so that they look expensive. So in this one here, I bought this at IKEA, and we're just going to put a little paper down on the bottom just to raise it up slightly. And I'm just going to stick this right on top. And look how cute that looks. It is definitely an awesome vase. So that's one. Then let's go ahead and move on to the taller vase. I love the painting on this. It looks so rich. And I have this from Hobby Lobby, and you can get that when they have it 50% off. I'm just going to go ahead and shove some of this in here. It has a nice wild kind of look. I could totally see this like at a mansion. So I think that looks really awesome too. So there's one with the moss. Then we have this one here that I got from, IKEA, which I think this looks great in that too. And then we did this one in white, and so I'm going to go ahead and add a little more craft paper to the bottom of this. And then at the dollar store, I got this reindeer moss. My mom and I use that a lot. And I'm going to take the hot glue gun and just glue some of that in there. Go ahead and put a little glue, hold that down, and then we'll smush some of that reindeer moss right in there. So I think that's a nice touch to this one here. And they all look so much better than when we started. So I bought this old bench. They called it a flower bench. As you can see, it's in really bad shape. But we are gonna make it gorgeous. Yep, so let's go ahead and get to work. We're gonna start sanding. Okay, so we're going to use this duck egg blue, and I think it's such a pretty color, and we're just going to paint the entire flower bench. I went ahead and got a little bit of water so that I could kind of wash it on there, because this thing was sucking up the paint, and that's one way to cover everything with not using a lot of paint, and it'll still look beautiful. Also, it'll go on so much smoother, and you'll be able to cover more area faster. Once you get done painting your first coat, you can go back and then touch up areas where you might have missed. You don't have to cover every single inch because we are going to distress this, but you want the majority of it covered. Okay, so our paint is dry, and I'm going to take the sander around the edges. I'm going for like a vintage type look. Now that we're done sanding our edges, we're going to use some of this dark Annie Sloan wax. You're going to use a clean cloth, and you're just going to use a little of that wax. We're going to put it on the edges. We're going to put it on top. We're also going to blend it with some clear wax. If you get too much dark wax and you don't like it, you can always use a little clear wax on top, and that just kind of lightens it up a little. And when you're finished with the dark wax, it just gives it a nice kind of vintage look. And let me show you how beautiful it looks when it's finished. So much better than this. Now on to our third and final project. I bought these books at the Salvation Army for $1, which I thought was a really good deal. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these books and then we're going to paint them black. I'm going to use the Annie Sloan graphite, but you can use any kind of black paint. Okay, so these are completely dry now, and we're going to paint the entire book white, including the pages now. We painted this black so that when we sand it, a little of this black will show through and it'll just give it a nice distressed look. So let's go ahead and paint these white. I'm going to paint the pages because they're very yellow. And we just really want this to look really farmhouse and fresh. We don't want it looking like something that's like, you know what I'm saying. Like, you want to paint the pages because this looks old, it's damaged. Looks like it had water damage on it. So we want to freshen that up. I think these pages look good now. Okay, so these all look really good. We're gonna let these dry, and while they're drying, we're gonna make some little applique pieces that we're gonna put on the spine of each book. Well, maybe not all of the books, but we'll make a few and really decorate this up really cute. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Boy, this keeps bleeding through pink. I don't know about that. Now we're gonna take our IOD molds and we're going to make some keyholes and a key. First thing you want to do is cornstarch your mold, otherwise your clay is going to stick in every nook and cranny. And we're going to take some of my Magic Sculpt, which is an epoxy resin. You want to mix 2 equal parts, one of the hardener and one of the sculpting material. You just want to kind of work that with your hands. You want to twist it and squish it, and when you see that it's white, then it is completely mixed properly. So this is looking pretty good. It is completely white, so we're going to go ahead and start making our pieces. We're going to start by taking small little pieces of clay and pushing them in the mold, and you just want to do that all the way down. I will have a link in the description where you can find the Magic Sculpt, and these molds you can find on Etsy. If you don't want to buy the molds and you don't want to make them yourself, I will have the applique pieces in my Etsy store for you to purchase. Once you're done making your applique piece, you're going to flip the mold over and you can roll it back and the piece should come out pretty easy. We're going to repeat the process on the remainder of the applique pieces we're going to make. Although Magic Sculpt dries pretty quick, I like to have my pieces dry overnight before I put them on any of my projects. Before I let the pieces completely dry, I took an X-Acto knife and I made a little hole in the key. That way we could use a little wire to attach it. Now that our books are completely dry, we're going to take some sandpaper and we're going to distress them a bit. Do you see how the black is coming through? It is just looking really awesome, and that's the effect that we wanted. We wanted some black to shine through. So we're just going to finish distressing the rest of the books and then we'll go on to bundling them together. Now it's time to attach our pieces. So we're going to use the hot glue gun. We're going to put a little hot glue on it and then we're going to press down and it's going to be beautiful. What did I tell ya? So I'm just going to finish putting on the rest of the applique pieces to the books and then we'll go ahead and bundle it up. This one was lifted up just slightly, so I wanted to go ahead and add a little more glue just to make sure it was securely down. We're going to glue this one right on top since this is going to be our top book. These books are absolutely gorgeous. I'm adding a little white paint over our applique because our applique really is unfinished. Now we're going to use a little of this Wise Out black wax. We're going to take a cloth and we're going to rub it on the applique pieces. This is going to bring the detail out in them. If you get a little on the book, it's no big deal because remember, we distressed it and that's only going to add to the distressing. If you want, you can even add a little black wax to the book just to distress it further. So I'm just going to finish up with the black wax on the rest of the applique and then we'll move on to hang tags. Okay, so we have these hang tags. These will be available in my Etsy store if you're interested. And we're going to add that to the books, I should say. I really like this one. I think this is the one we're going to go with. I'm just going to cut this hang tag out. And then I have a hole punch. Just want to cut these out. Okay, and now with our little hole punch, we're gonna just put a little hole right in there so that we can tie some jute around there. Perfect. Love it. This is gonna look so cute on our books. Okay, so we're gonna take a little of this jute here and we're gonna tie it around our books. So let's go ahead and do that. Keep them all together like a little bundle. And I'm just going to tie that in a little knot. I think that looks super cute, but we can make this even cuter. We're going to add our hang tag here. I'm just going to put this through the hole, and then we're going to tie that onto there. Okay. Then we made a little key. So we have this little piece of wire that I just cut, and we're gonna poke that through the hole I made. And then we're gonna add the key on there. We'll just twist that in a little, well, not really a knot, but we'll just twist that so that it'll stay on there. We're gonna bend that back. Okay, so that looks super cute. And now we're just going to add some of this lavender that I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to cut a little bit. And we'll just place that in here. We don't want to cover up the keyhole too much, so I'm just going to move the string over. But I think this looks absolutely beautiful. Gives it a nice finished look with our hang tag, our key, and just a little bit of lavender. Again, the applique pieces and the hang tags will be available in my Etsy store. If you like this episode of Flea Market Rescue and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. I'm Kelly Sherry, and this has been Flea Market Rescue.